Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. Today we're talking about how do you use Patreon. So this is a tutorial for Patreon. Basically, as a creator, how you can set up an account, how you can get started, and how you can start producing creative work and getting paid for it. That is what we are covering today. Okay, so let's get started. When you log into Patreon, you're going to be greeted with this dashboard, which is basically where you're filling out all of the information when it comes to what you got to do in order to get set up with Patreon. So you could be doing this for a few different reasons. You could be starting a podcast, you could be starting a blog, it could be for your YouTube channel, it could be for something creative, like you're creating comic books, etc. It really doesn't matter. You're going to have the same basic layout. So for just this example, I'm saying that I'm going to be creating blog posts, and that's kind of like the whole reason behind this Patreon page. This is a dummy page I'm setting up, so this is not actually a page that I am setting up. Here on the right, you have a bunch of different checklist items to really guide you through this. So it's really easy, and also some great stuff when it comes to how to actually, Kindle membership. How do you Kindle interaction? How do you sell this page once you get it up and running? You can do a little bit of learn more. The biggest thing I want to draw your attention to right now is this cover photo. This is one of the most important things when it comes to Patreon page, because that's what's going to show up when you preview the page right here, right here. So it's just showing my face, right? You're going to want to have something that's a little bit more representative of your brand, or something that's related to what it is you're going to be offering on Patreon. Now, there's specific specifications when it comes to the height and the width of this page. I'd recommend using Canva to be able to set this up. This is a free online tool. You can very simply create a new design. You can set custom dimensions, and you can set the height and the width, and in that way you can very easily create your Patreon cover photo. Now, I have another video out there on Canva, so I'm not going to go super in depth into that on this particular video. Also, you can claim your Patreon URL. So this is going to be something where if you're trying to optimize for SEO, search engine optimization, you're going to want to use keyword terms that are relevant to your brand. So if I use CrowdCrux, or I use Salvador, or something related to me, that's going to be really hyper relevant to my brand. If it's something other or something different, related to your brand, I'd recommend having some keywords in there so that you can make sure that you grab that while you can. The other thing is the about page, right? So the about page, I'm just going to fill this in really quickly. CrowdCrux. When the about page is here, this is really what's going to show when you're starting to do the preview and people want to learn a little bit more about you and get a little bit more insight. They can go and learn more about who you are. So I fill in a little bit of information when it comes to your credibility. And also when it comes to what is it that people are going to get. This is the first thing that patrons will see when they land on your page. So make sure, number one, they know who you are, that you're credible. And number two, what is it that they're getting for supporting it? What are they joining? What are they signing up for? What is the pain? You have to paint a picture of basically how they can join you on this journey. And finally, if you want to, you could have an intro video, and the URL would be right here. And this is optional to have a video. Video is very effective. I mean, you're watching a video right now, right? And it's generating trust, and you're getting a little bit of information. So videos also can be really powerful when you're interacting with your particular patrons as a way to generate a relationship. So those are some of the basics. Let's get a little bit into the tiers here, because the tiers are kind of where the money is made. Now, there are lots of different types of tiers here. So it could be starting with $5 a month. It could be, $14 a month. It really doesn't matter. But when people come to your page, they're going to see all of these different membership levels that you're offering. So the $5 per one is patron-only posts and messages. This is just the standard setup that I have here. Early access tier to content, voting power. So maybe if people want to have a vote when it comes to what content should I be producing next month, patron-only posts and messages. And then for the VIP that I have just set up here, sort of the dummy tier, full library access to all my blog posts, only exclusive posts and messages, early access to content, and also the patron-only voting power. So this is just a very simple offering. Now, when it comes to the average amount given on Kickstarter, it's around $50 for a pledge when it comes to crowdfunding. When it comes to Patreon, it's actually closer to 10 to 15, maybe $20 to $25. Kind of varies depending on the type of creator, but I'd say a good broad average would be about $20 to $25 per month that people are usually giving. On the lower tier creators, it's probably closer to $10 per month or $15 per month. So That should give you an idea. You don't want to set like a $500 a month tier. It's not very realistic if you're just getting started, unless you already have a proven audience that you're selling to. If you're just getting started, I probably keep it in the $5 to $25 per month as membership levels. If you want to, get up into higher ticket, you can offer more personalized attention, one-on-one coaching. If you're doing something like, selling educational services, etc. So that gives you an idea of that. This will show you an example of all of the different tiers that are here, and you could easily edit these, you could add to them, or you could create a completely new tier. Now, when you're creating new tiers, I recommend that you really think about what people are getting out of it, right? Because it says like here, the first one is the price, and that like instantly is where your mind is going, right? But really it comes down to the value. The value is what people are buying into and the benefits that you are giving them in order to wrap their head around paying $50 a month for a membership. And also the title here is a really great opportunity for copywriting, something that instantly people see that and they're like, that sounds cool, or something that's related to your brand in some way. Or you can even think of really interesting names and interesting ways to title these. So for example, I had a coaching student where I was talking to them and I'm like, you need to think of a few different titles. You should say like, this guy is like a ninja, or, I don't want to give away his product name. This is a blah, blah, blah ninja, or this is like a veteran, or this is like, a Jedi master, right? Because he had a kind of interesting niche. So you can think of titles and ways that you can separate these people and almost give them a sense like they're joining something fun and really cool. When it comes to these benefits, and you're creating a new tier, they do give you some standard ones here. You can also add benefits very easily. So you could add to a particular tier if you'd want to. You could edit these, and also you can edit the description here. So the description is kind of what people are going to read before they sign up. So this is really important. It could give people an idea of what they're getting. It could get them excited. It could tell them how many other people are already part of this, anything you can do. And finally, you can have a tier image here. And again, there's a recommended pixel size. And as you know, you can use Canva to create that actual pixel size. So this is awesome. I mean, this is tons of really valuable functionality. If you want to, you could also limit the number of patrons to give that kind of perceived, like you got to get on this very quickly. If it's a physical thing that you are shipping out, like for example, artwork or comic books, print comic books, you could have a shipping address there. You can also, if you want to, have different stuff when it comes to Discord servers, which is more of like a forum, a lot more for gamers will use that. And also, of course, sales tax there. So this will tell you at least a high-level idea of how the tiers look and how the editing process works. Now, I want to get into some of the other stuff here. So there are a few different models when it comes to Patreon. If you go here to the pricing tab, you can see what you get for different models. So for example, with Lite, you'll get 5%. Patreon will charge you and every kind of contribution or any kind of time someone signs up. So someone gives you $100, Patreon gets $5 of that, and they also get a credit card processing fee plus payment processing. So basically, you get all the basic stuff. When you upgrade to 8%, they're then getting 8% of your monthly income. You get everything in the Lite Plus membership tiers. You get analytics and insights, special promo tools, creator-led workshops, unlimited app integrations, prior to customer support. And if you really want to upgrade to premium, at the time I'm recording this video, you're going to give away 12% of the monthly income that you earn. You'll also get merch, so you can sell merch through Patreon rather than using something like Teespring or using your own Shopify store. You could actually do it on Patreon. And also, you get stuff when it comes to like a dedicated partner manager to answer all of your questions, and you can have a team if you want to have this all be set up for you. So this is something to think about. This is something where the more obviously that you're using of the functionality, the more you're giving away as a percentage. I mean, this is literally double the amount that they are getting when it comes to your monthly membership. And while that might not seem small to you in the early stages, that can really compound. If you're making $10,000 a month, you can very quickly see how that begins to add up. That's literally over $1,000, $1,200 just to use this functionality. You could definitely get, and that's over $12,000 per year that you're paying Patreon in order to use this premium support, in order to house all of this. So think about it, because it really does lay the foundation for your business. I'm not trying to knock Patreon in any way. I think they have a really good service, but just something to keep in mind. If we go back here to building our page, so merch, again, we talked about this is when you're selling physical rewards to your patrons. This comes later. You could do this all right off the bat, but you're going to have to upgrade your tier in order to have this be offered. When it comes to getting paid, now this is kind of a bit of a difference, because let's just say I'm doing blog posts, right? Blog posts can be sporadic or they could be monthly. When I was just getting started, it was definitely much more regular. Nowadays, it's kind of a little bit more sporadic just because I have a lot of other stuff going on my plate. So I could get paid per creation if I wanted to when it comes to a blog post. So let's just say every time that I publish a blog post, then it's going to basically be notified to my patrons, and that's going to be something that then is taken into account when it comes to my account. You can read it here. Charge my patrons only when I make a paid post. Your plan only supports a monthly payment schedule. When it comes to monthly, this is just recurring monthly essentially. So people are paying monthly and you're creating the blog post. It's not really a per creation basis. So there's a little bit of a difference there when it comes to this. In order to keep your sanity, I probably would recommend for most people to do a monthly payment, just because it makes things a lot easier. You don't feel as rushed about creating and when you have to get things done and like those kinds of things. But if you have a much more custom style genre, like artwork, for example, and you're almost getting like commissioned to do kinds of paintings and those kinds of things, then you might be interested in doing a per creation model. You can also choose, if you want to, the currency which you are going to be accepting, and then you have your payout settings. This is once your page is actually launched, you can edit that, your tax information, how you'd like to get paid, etc. And we can always learn a little bit more. This is a pretty extensive going through this all and like setting all of this up. So I'm gonna leave this out of the video, but if you want to, you can just learn a little bit. It might take 1 to 5 business days in order to get your payment, like that kind of information. You can transfer all of this easily to your bank account, and you'll see all of the different transactions that are happening. That all happens in your payment tab. Let's go into page settings here while I got you here. So first of all, obviously you got to display some important stuff like your first name, your last name, country of residence. You can choose out your brand color, and you can also preview it so you can see what that will look like. The other big thing I think that's really important is, do you want to display whether or not your earnings are public? So what are the benefits of displaying your earnings being public? Well, number one, it creates a really big sense of camaraderie. It creates a huge sense of momentum. People get really excited when you go from earning $100 a month to $1,000 a month. They feel like they're part of something, right? And also the fact that you're putting all that money back into the creation of cool new stuff for them. It's really freaking exciting, man. So the benefit of having public is credibility, number one. Number two, a sense of momentum. And number three, I think that people just naturally tend to be a little bit curious when they see someone who's doing really well, and that curiosity sort of starts to get people's attention. They start to want to learn a little bit more, and it's kind of an invitation almost into that person's content. A good example here is you go to YouTube and you find all these YouTube videos of people like, hey, I've earned this amount of passive income per month, or look at my 5 income streams, or look at these 10 income streams I built by age 30, right? Those are all people who are displaying their income, and they're doing it in a way that actually draws attention to themselves. So it's going to vary from category to category, obviously, but that might be one reason why you want to be public. When it comes to private, naturally, more money, more headaches, right? So when people know you're making money, you're going to be more likely to be a target of other people. When people know that you're making money, they might feel a little bit miffed or frustrated that they aren't on the same level as you. They might feel a little bit of anger. There are a lot of different things that can go into it, but that's something that comes with you understanding your tribe and those people who are supporting you. And also, if people can also rationalize things like I'm already paying this guy, $50 a month. He's making $10K per month. Why would I invest in one of his products? People will. That could be also a thing where people feel like they're already giving to you. Why would they invest in other things? You got to know your community. Put it at the end of the day in order to really make a good decision there. So you can add it if you want to a local business. You can connect all of your different social links. If you are doing adult content, make sure you check that box. You can integrate Google Analytics really easily, so you can see the visitor data. How long are people spending on your page? Where are they going on your page? Those kinds of things. And finally, there's RSS feed, which might be interesting if you are publishing audio, or in the future, if you're doing podcast, a private podcast. I've actually thought of doing that before, as like a private show where only the people in my community get access to these really exclusive interviews or really exclusive content in an audio format, because I already have a ton of people who really love the podcast and always look for a little bit more deeper stuff. This is a lot of really good functionality. When it comes to the advanced tab, we just have, like, for example, welcome notes and internal goals. Welcome notes, just someone joins it. How do you want to send some kind of a note just to thank them, congratulate them? It's an exciting event. They're now part of the community. What do you want them to do next? You want to give them an optional video so that there's some kind of a call to action. Hey, thank you so much for joining my Patreon, something like that. If you want to, you can also join our private Facebook group here. Or if you want to, you can join our private email list here where we send out information related to the Patreon. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, I'm very skeptical when it comes to platforms online. I've had issues recently with my Twitter where Twitter has been trying to like ban certain of my accounts where even though they're legitimate accounts, right? So out of nowhere, a social media platform can decide to ban you. They could ban your Facebook page. I've had that happen to many coaching students over the years where for out of nowhere, Facebook decides to do that. And you don't have any control. So the only thing you have control over is your email list and your relationships that you have with your customers. The only way that you can capture that is by getting them off of Patreon and onto other services. So, for example, you could, more discreetly get them to interact with you in some kind of a way, or send them to a different location, or in some kind of way, just try to get your patrons on multiple different platforms. That's going to be way better for you as a creator than just having Patreon basically have their hold over all of your users and that kind of stuff. So you could use a welcome message for that if you want to, or something like that. You'd have to look into the term of service a little bit more, wink, wink, in order to figure that out, I'd say. But make sure you obviously are abiding by the terms of service. The other thing here is kind of like with Kickstarter, you can set monthly goals. So when you hit these different goals, then you're going to be able to, again, rally even more support. You're going to have excitement. You're going to be approaching a new milestone. It's really freaking cool. So these could be earnings goals. Like once I reach, $1,000 per month, I'm going to start an entirely new special podcast series, which is just for the Patreon creators. That's exciting. It's almost like a stretch goal when you think of it with Kickstarter. Another would be a community-based goal. So for example, community-based goal could be once we hit 1,000 patrons, then I'm going to be able to hire someone to be able to help me with audio editing for the show, or with a blog post. Once we hit 1,000 patrons, we're going to start doing once per month a really deep analysis of some topic. Let's just say we have a business blog. We're going to be doing a quarterly or a report or a monthly report where we just report on all of the things that are happening in this particular niche and the trends that we're seeing. This is a PDF document that we're taking a lot of time to put together, really fancy charts and good-looking pie charts and stuff like that, really colorful, and you're going to get access to that as a patron, remember, and this is going to be once we hit 1,000 patrons. So these are just examples. You can also add your own goal if you want to. So this could be like an earnings goal here and say what that's going to be. So it doesn't just have to be obviously what is filled in here with Patreon. So this covers a lot of things when it comes to Patreon and really how this is going to look. Again, you can customize all of these different things. I think Canva is a really great tool when it comes to that. So I'm going to link down below when it comes to Canva. I'm going to link down below when it comes to another video I have out there on Patreon and some tips as it relates to that. But I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial style YouTube video. I have a lot of other stuff when it comes to advice in terms of growing your Patreon page. How do you get people excited? How do you get people anticipating the next thing that you are coming out with? I built many different communities over the years. Kickstarter forum, over 10,000 members. Crowdfundingforum.com, more than 10,000. Lots of different social media accounts I built up over the years. My blog, CrowdCrux, the podcast, now this YouTube channel, which has hit 20,000 subscribers. So I have a decent understanding when it comes to building communities out of scratch and also monetizing those communities, because I've been full-time on my business since 2014. So I would love to share some of those tips with you in future videos. Make sure you give me a thumbs up. Come subscribe to this channel so I can give you more advice just like that, and we can get started ASAP on monetizing your craft and monetizing your passion. My name is Salvador Briggman. Thank you so much for joining me on this YouTube video, and I will see you next time.